911, what's your emergency?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the PIO Podcast, a place for all things public information related for police, fire, EMS, and local governments.
It was a good learning experience for a lot of us that social media is not real life.
But we have to remember the media are very rarely a target audience. They're simply that conduit.
Our words have impacts on individuals, and it may not be positive. So just being thoughtful and mindful of the words that we speak.
I think what's so interesting about this position too, and this job and this profession, is that every one of us is looking for purpose. And when we find it here, that's it.
To know is that a crisis for one is not necessarily a crisis for another.
Hey guys, I wanted to jump on here for a minute. I hope you're enjoying our content. If you could take a moment to look in today's show notes at the bottom, you're going to see a link that says support the show. The PIO Podcast needs support to keep connecting with these amazing resources. Any amount helps. Thanks everybody. We really appreciate it. Hello, March. 2024 is truly moving quickly. We continue to discover and hear from other PIOs across the country this month. In April, we have some exciting news. We will hold our very first live panel discussion. More details on that will be coming as we move into March. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode.
Good morning. Today on the PIO Podcast, we have social media manager Ashley Turner, and she's from Charlotte County Government. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Robert.
I really appreciate you being on. So you are a social media manager for Charlotte County Government. So explain to me what that does and for the rest of our listeners.
Yeah, so here in Charlotte County, we recently, 2.5 years ago, created a social media manager position in our public information office. Our administration team and our commission office saw the importance of social media and how it's really shaping the landscape of government communications. And so they created this position. I work in our PIO office. I serve I believe we have 17 departments in our county government for their social media needs. I assist them with creating content, creating captions, targeting their audiences, and then I also create content specifically for the Charlotte County main page. So information that's coming out from administration, our commission office, and then amplifying any of our departmental messages from there.
Wow, that's a lot of departments to handle for a single person. That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your background? Let's hear what your background is and how you got there.
Yeah. So, if you would have asked 16-year-old Ashley, she never would have been working in government. That is for sure. And she never would have been back in Charlotte County. So, Charlotte County is actually my hometown. I grew up here, born and raised. And so, when I was 18, I thought I was going to be going to college on an athletic scholarship. I ended up tearing my meniscus. That all kind of downward spiraled, but it's fine because I'm where I am today and it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that. So I ended up going to Liberty University in Virginia, studying digital media, and I actually did a cognate in social media, which was relatively new as I was coming through. So while I was there, I actually interned with the athletic department. And I really thought that was going to be my career, working in college athletics, doing marketing and social media and communications. And then after that, I kind of had some personal reasons to come home. I came home and I kind of just fell into government. I was trying to decide if I was going to go back and be a graduate assistant in the athletic department at Liberty, or if I was going to apply for this full-time graphics position here in Charlotte County.
It's amazing how you get sucked into government, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I love it. I never thought I would. As a kid, my parents were always like, government jobs are the best jobs you can get. And I was like, nah, who cares about benefits? But now I care about benefits. At 14 and 16, I didn't.
Yeah, it's amazing where you think about, and it's funny because a lot of young people don't think of that stuff, and they don't think of like where it's going to happen. And I know, like in the news media, this is one of the reasons why a lot of the news media ends up in public relations, public information, because the pay is tough, the markets are tough, and then you get moved around all the time. You're working night shift. You're out on the street all the time.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah.
It is, yeah. We're seeing a lot of reporters come over to the PIO government side in our area, and I think across the nation.
Well, you know what?
Really
especially now that you, what was it? Sports Illustrated now just completely got rid of their entire staff.
Yeah.
So now you're going to have a whole pool of reporters now that are going to be, looking to, or staff members are going to do a job in county government or local government. And there's a lot of positions out there. You just got to want to do it.
Yeah, there is. I never knew that a position like this existed, actually, till I came home and a friend worked in our library department. And she sent me my first position in Charlotte County, which was the graphic specialist. And that's kind of, sent my career on a completely different path than I thought, but an exciting one.
It is amazing when that happens. All right, so let's talk some statistics for where Charlotte County is located, because, we didn't say exactly where it was at. So population of the county, what's notable in Charlotte County?
Yeah, so Charlotte County is a coastal community in southwest Florida. If you know where Hurricane Ian hit, we are actually, it's Fort Myers Beach, but we're actually the county right above it. So they got the wind, or they got the water. We got the wind here in Charlotte County. We're kind of smack dab between Tampa Bay and Fort Myers. So we're right on that coast in southwest Florida. We have about 200,000 residents. We're just creeping to that 200,000 mark, which is pretty exciting. I think, at least. Some don't, but I think it's nice. And then notably, so a lot of people love our beaches. We're a coastal community. We're really well known for our boating and tarpon fishing. And surprisingly, when I was in Virginia, my friends would be like, we're going to Inglewood Beach for spring break. And I'm like, Inglewood Beach? Really?
And you
like, that's my hometown.
There, right?
Yeah. So that's in our county. So I didn't even know that was really notable, but that is a huge selling point for Charlotte County. And then we have Punta Gorda, which is beautiful as well. A nice little downtown coastal area for residents and visitors.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about social media management. You have a lot of duties because you have a lot of departments underneath the county umbrella. So what accounts are you managing? So and I have to assume this before we go on, you're probably managing multiple accounts for each department.
So what is nice is some of our larger departments, they actually have a public relations manager. And so they kind of take the overall, I'm going to create content day to day. And I kind of help manage them and help them create the content if it's kind of above their skill level.
Okay.
So I do have my hands in all of them, but luckily I don't have to have my hands in them every single day. But they do have multiple accounts depending upon the department. But so we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, depending on
where you're
what you call it. Right. And then we're on Nextdoor. I'm trying to think, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we were on TikTok. We're no longer allowed to be on TikTok for
is that because
some reasons that
was that the state government decision or was that county government?
So there was some state conversations that happened, but ultimately it was our county IT. They had some security concerns, so we just decided that if our internally we had security concerns, we weren't going to push that to our residents. So that was the decision that was made. And we still get to do those TikTok-y type videos just on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
So
and that's funny enough, YouTube Shorts are really starting to grow rapidly. So, I mean, I think eventually that's going to take over TikTok as it is.
Yeah. We've seen an amazing amount of growth. We just started doing YouTube Shorts, I would say probably about a month and a half ago. And I would say we've seen about 100 to 150 new subscribers. And our video viewage has doubled, which is awesome for us, especially because that's something we're not really tapped into as much.
Yeah, anytime you can show video on any platform, it's going to draw more attention to you. But because, YouTube is such a cross, that Google platform is such a cross of everything between like running a podcast or running YouTube, the music end of it. There's so much you can do with it that it's really cool. So since you manage so many platforms, I'm assuming you're not using just the native programs or platforms to post to. I've got to assume that, right?
So I actually do a mixture of both. So we do have Sprout Social, and we use Sprout Social to do some of our scheduling and some of our posting. But then I also do it natively as well. Sometimes I find it easier to post a reel natively in Instagram rather than trying to schedule it through a tool. So it's actually a mixed bag for me as to what I use, what I have time for, honestly. And then if it's content that I know I'm going to post on all of our platforms, I will use something like Sprout where I can go in and just click, 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 click. But if it's something that I'm just going to use on Instagram, I generally will do it natively just to kind of see what it looks like. And like I said, the reels are a lot easier sometimes to just natively do it and edit right in the app.
Have you noticed the difference between the reach, specifically like on Facebook and Instagram, when you use the app versus when you use Sprout Social?
I haven't noticed much. I do notice more of a drop in engagement when I advertise on the platform.
Really?
And then I go back to organic content. Yeah.
That's interesting. You're paying for that and you get less reach.
Oh, no, I see the reach, but then once we go back to normal content, it almost feels like it drops off because they want you to continue to pay.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many employees does Orange County government have? Do you know?
We have a little over, I think we're at 13 or 1,400 employees.
So a good size.
Yeah, so we only have one city incorporated in Charlotte County. So we cover almost the entire county other than that little section of Punta Gorda.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break.
I think it would be useful at least to experiment, and I know some universities have started to experiment with this, but experiment with having, a required course maybe for all students entering the university. They used to have a course at my university, which was like here's how to go to college class, here's how to study and things like that. They don't have that course anymore, but instead of having something like that, have a course that show students, here's the history of free speech, here's how it.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of responsibilities then. So the sheriff's
we're a little
office,
unique.
The sheriff's office got to be pretty busy then.
Yeah, because the city does have their own police department, but like I said, it's just the sheriff's office, they're extremely busy. Fire EMS, we cover emergency services for the entire county. The city does have a fire district, but they don't have emergency medical services. So they supply fire in the city. We supply them with EMTs.
Okay. You said earlier that you don't always handle all the platform or the content or the posting and stuff, but I've got to assume with when content is above somebody's, they don't understand it enough or they can't figure it out. You can only watch YouTube so much to figure it out that you prepare the content yourself.
Yes. So a mixture. A lot of times I try to go out and teach. A big part of my role that I try to take on is to educate our public relations managers. One, because it helps me, but two, it helps them. And then they're more bought into the process. So a lot of times if they come to me with a project, I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll come out. I'll show you how I shoot it. I'll show you how I edit it. And then in the future, you can try to do it. And if you can't do it the next time, I can come out and do it again. But that's really the approach I try to take. I want to make them the best social media people that I can make them, while also helping me out a little bit, not stretching me too thin, so that I can help in other areas.
I completely agree. I mean, it's better to teach somebody how to do it and empower them than, than have it stall on your shoulders. I did that for a number of years in my old department. And I'll tell you, it's exhausting, when you have 10 platforms you're trying to run and you've got one person that, I'll give you an example. There's a range master. He wanted his own page and he kept coming in with these videos and I'm like, just post it from your phone. And this is how you do it. And I showed him and he just wouldn't do it. He goes, I can't do it. You got to do it. And it was exhausting because he always had all these great ideas of stuff to put in there. And It's exhausting.
Yeah, I am really lucky that the people that I get to work with, they are bought into it. So a lot of times, sometimes they'll even come with the content. They're like, hey, I've got the videos. I just don't know how to edit it. I'm like, that's easy. I can throw some clips together and put some music under it for you. You took the hard part away, going to get the content. So
awesome. You're helping him edit it. So a lot of this you're doing in the native apps, I'm assuming. You're editing it?
Yeah, so it really depends. Sometimes I'll use the native app. I love CapCut because I can do it right on my phone. Mm-hmm. So if they send me the clips, OneDrive, or sometimes through text or AirDrop, if we're at the same scene or place, then I can just edit it right on my phone in CapCut. That way I can use it across multiple platforms if I am going to put it on Facebook and YouTube and on Instagram, and I won't have watermarks. Because if I do it in Instagram and download it, you do get the watermark,
right?
Unless you do the little sneaky ways. And so I do that. And then sometimes, depending on the project and the look, I will pull it into Adobe on my computer. And if I have the time, it really kind of just depends on the quality. And also if I'm using a trending sound or all kinds of things like
right.
that. But
did you pay for the CapCut app so that you can get rid of the watermark at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you don't really want that stupid watermark at the end.
No, it was worth the investment for me.
It's not even, I don't even think it's that much, is it?
No, it's pretty minimal. I can't remember. I did the year option. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, I'll just pay for it all now. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you said you're using Adobe. What else are you using?
So I use the Adobe suite. I use CapCut. Equipment wise, I use my iPhone. Honestly, for a lot of what I do, I did just get a Sony mirrorless camera that I do use a lot, and you can see the increased quality of the photos now. But because of the nature of my job and the people that I'm working with, I don't try to teach off of a DSLR. I try to teach them off of the iPhone, right. Or an Android, just because we always have those with us. I'm trying to think what else, other software. I think that's pretty much it. I'm a simple person. Try not to get too complicated with things.
Photoshop or anything like that, or just I'm assuming you said the suite, so you've got it. Okay.
Yeah. Photoshop. I use Lightroom all the time for my photos. I tend to use Adobe Rush over Adobe Premiere, just because Rush is a little easier for
it's not
I
bad
need.
Using it on the go too. It works pretty good on your phone.
Yeah. So,
all right.
And I had used Final Cut Pro in the past. I have not used it in this current position. So
I don't think there's not a new version of it though out either, is there?
That I don't think so.
Yeah,
and we have the Adobe suite, so I'm not going to pay for something else. Yeah.
All right. So last year when the hurricanes impacted you guys on the West Coast, I assume you were working to help keep messaging going out.
Yeah. So like I said, we got actually a direct hit from Hurricane Ian. It sat on us for 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I am actually a member of our Joint Information Center, which is in our Emergency Operations Center. I handle all of the social media inside of the EOC, and I was there for 72 hours straight. I slept there on a bunk bed cot in a room of 20 other people. Continuing to get the message out to our community on social media. And then, of course, I was there probably 12, 14-hour days for, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
7 days a week.
After that, right?
Just trying to push out information, because residents, yes, did have struggles with internet and with cell power, but we also were messaging to our snowbirds who live in our community, but not necessarily at that time. So they might be at their other home in Michigan, wanting to know what's going on here, or even loved ones who have people in our community, or the ones that evacuated. We called for evacuations of 2 different zones. So being able to message to them through social media when they hadn't come back yet. So we saw, I think, roughly 11.6 million impressions during the time that we messaged for Hurricane Ian.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. My next question is, do you respond to inquiries on your platform?
Yes. So that is a huge thing for me. I know some municipalities do not do that, but for me, social media is a is an extension of our customer service. I know me personally, would rather chat on a text chat on a website. I'd rather comment or send someone a DM on social media than pick up the phone. So I try to take that into my work and realize that that's how people are. They don't want to pick up the phone.
I completely agree with you. I'll tell you a great story. So I was flying back from Roswell, New Mexico, getting in a connector flight in Dallas to go back to Chicago.
Yeah.
We landed in Dallas and we're sitting on the tarmac for about 45 minutes. And I'm sending messages to American Airlines to their customer service thing. And they finally asked me, what's your flight number? And they came back with, I said, we're waiting for a gate. Can't you get us a gate? 45 minutes down. We're sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
And they finally said, yeah, you're just getting approval for a gate. Literally minutes later, we went in. Then I said, I'm going to be late for my connector.
Yeah.
And they notified the gate agent that I was coming from a late arrival.
Yeah. See, that's awesome. And that is what I hope to achieve with our residents too. Is
awesome
that customer service.
When you can get that kind of service. So I think it's great.
So, and after the hurricane, sorry.
No, go ahead. After the hurricane?
After the hurricane, we really prioritized that. And one of my favorite stories to tell, because after the hurricane, I have done quite a bit of presentations, just trying to help other communities in our area kind of be prepared for what they could expect. We had residents who couldn't get out of their homes because their cars were destroyed by trees. The roads were blocked, but they were able to message into us through social media and tell us like, hey, we can't get out to your points of distribution to get food and water, but we need food and water. And they were able to tell me their exact location of where they lived in our community. And I got to go out into the war room, is what we call it in the EOC, and tell the American Red Cross and tell the National Guard where these people were and put boots on the ground to get them the resources they need. I'm getting chills just talking about it, but like that's the impact you can have when you're responding to the comments.
That is awesome.
And
without
it's so
that, I mean, you need to be able to respond to people and realize that stuff there. I mean, I forget, I was doing some training a couple years ago at an agency, and I'm like, have you guys looked at your direct messages? And they said, no, not really. So they looked at, they had all kinds of stuff in there. They had tips with photos of suspects. They had people asking for help. I mean, I'm like, you guys got to monitor this stuff.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, you don't know what little gems are in there if you don't monitor them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know you said earlier that some places don't like to monitor it or they don't like to respond. I think that one of the counties up north of you, they kind of shut down their response because they were getting crime reports right via social media, which, I mean, I get it. But in the long run, I mean, you're better off responding to them or interacting with them than not.
Yeah, I agree.
So training, what kind of specialized training have you taken for your position?
Yeah, so I'm actually in right now currently the Master Public Information Officer program through FEMA, awesome. Which is the highest level that you can get in that FEMA series. I highly recommend any FEMA training for any PIOs. It's all completely free, which is great. If you go to the campus, of course, they pay for your flight if you're flying in, which is super nice. So my agency doesn't have to worry about that. They give you a shuttle right to campus. And then the only thing you pay for is your meal ticket while you're on campus. They lodge you and everything for free. And it is the most realistic training that I've ever gone through. So they have a basic course for PIOs, and they have an advanced course, then they have the master's course. The advanced course took me right back to what I experienced during Hurricane Ian. It's so realistic. I actually cried just because it was like, wow, like this is real.
Little bit of PTSD?
Yeah, just a tad bit. I took it probably 6 months after Hurricane Ian. And I was like, hey guys, like, I just need a second. It's fine. I just a little PTSD. But so I highly recommend the FEMA training. But yeah, I'm in the Master PIO program right now. And so I go up to Emmitsburg, Maryland, which is where the campus is, 3 times for 3 separate weeks. And then I write a research paper that contributes to the PIO knowledge base. And then I'm considered a Master PIO. But there's like 156, I think, of them in the country right now.
Not many. Not many at all. Awesome.
So FEMA training is the big one that I always push. But internally, I like to teach a lot of trainings to my staff, how to create videos, how to create content, how to write captions. I'm going to be launching a how to use AI for social media correctly and not just copy and paste from ChatGPT.
Right. You got to be very careful with that. You've got to read what it puts in there, because if you don't, you know.
Yeah.
And it does get things wrong. I mean, people don't realize that. You would think, it's a computer, it's figuring it out, but there's stuff that's wrong in there.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story? So I know of a lawyer up in Colorado that got in trouble because they used ChatGPT. I think it was in the 3.0 version, that they had it look up for court cases. The court cases were completely false. He wrote a brief on it, submitted it to court, and so he was brought under. He was brought in front of the bar because he submitted a fake brief to a judge.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it.
I am going to go read that after this. And that's what it's a slippery slope. And it's,
You always got to check the links, man. You got to check those links. I mean, sometimes they're good. Sometimes you're like, whoa, that's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we already talked about software and stuff like that, editing images. So we know what you're doing there. What advice would you have for somebody that wants to get into the field of social media management? What suggestions do you have?
What suggestions? I say just dive in, honestly, and really just try to make a difference. And one big thing for me is getting buy-in from the top. That has really helped me when you want to dive into that. I'm lucky. My buy-in is pretty easy to get. But then be creative, and also don't be afraid to push the envelope. You never know what's going to work, but also don't be afraid to fail. Right. I've had plenty of projects where I'm like, this is going to be the best content I've had in 2 months. And then it flops and it's the worst content I've had in 2 months. But you won't know until you try and you put yourself out there. And what's nice is that social media, everyone consumes it. So you're kind of somewhat of a little bit of an expert, at least by consuming it pretty often. So just diving in. And really my big thing is if you're making a difference in your community, I think it'll the social media will show that you're doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ashley, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Oh, I don't know. I think you covered a lot. I think one thing is for me, how are you working outside of your community and outside of the borders? So I think it's really important to be involved in associations throughout your state and maybe throughout the country. One thing that's really huge here in Florida is we actually have a state association, the Florida Association of PIOs. And so once a year we get together, they do an advanced skills workshop, and then we do a symposium. The learning is great, but honestly, the networking is what is really important. We're going there, you meet with PIOs from all over the state. So you can call someone up if you need something, or often here we get hurricanes and we'll call for mutual aid. So I can pick up the phone and call someone and be like, hey, I really need someone who is good at social media and can sit and answer comments for me. I know you from conferences we've been to throughout the state. Can you come over and assist us?
Right.
Because during Ian, we did have some mutual aid come in and assist us. And then I've also recently been deployed to another area in Florida to assist their community with the PIO function. I went to a county that had no PIO after a major hurricane hit. And I spent 10 days there.
Have you ever done a VOST? Have you ever been involved in a VOST? It's a virtual. It's like a virtual JIC, but it would just be for social media, so that you could use somebody remotely to watch stuff, and they wouldn't have to come into the area.
Yeah. So we've actually during a declared disaster, FEMA actually can provide someone for you. We have not physically done that, but I found that out after Ian. I wish I would have known that during Ian, where I could have been like, hey, we could have allocated people other ways. Right. But also through our state association, they actually do set up people that will do that for us. And even during Ian, we didn't use it as much, but I know Lee County did. They had someone in Louisiana who was just pumping out graphics.
That's
She
awesome.
don't need to be in the state of Florida to sit and make, what you should do when your EV, your electric car catches on fire because it's flooded. All of that is new, so there's not a lot of graphics about that. So we were able to have someone in another state pump out those messages that we locally needed, but also were coming as state requests.
And, you bring that up about the EVs, and I'll tell you, I don't think a lot of people realize you're talking about a lithium battery that when water touches it, it gets really dangerous.
And the fires are not easy to put
No,
out.
they're not. They're not easy at all. You usually have to kill it with sand or I don't even know if the regular chemical foam works on that.
I think they have to have something special. I could be wrong, so if that's not quotable, but
All right, so Ashley, let's get into some rapid fire questions.
yeah.
All right, here we go. Texting or talking?
I'm a texting.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Adult drink of choice?
Ooh, I'm a Malibu and pineapple kind of girl.
There you go, Florida. What would be your superpower if you could have one?
Teleport.
Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
I'm a beg for permission or beg for forgiveness. Sorry to my boss.
There you go. Place you most want to travel to?
I would say Iceland or Italy.
Okay, cool.
Two completely different.
Yeah, very different, but very cool places both.
Yeah.
First celebrity crush?
Zac Efron. Troy Bolton. Man.
Guilty pleasure food?
Pizza.
It's awesome. I could eat that 31 days out of 31. What would you choose if you could have coffee? Who would you choose if you could have coffee with any historical figure, living or dead?
I don't know if she's technically historical, but Pat Summitt, the University of Tennessee women's basketball coach.
Absolutely. Why not? Anybody living or dead? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Final thoughts. What key points would you like our listeners to take from today's interview?
Social media matters. I feel like that is a battle that I often have, not necessarily always in my own organization, but just in general, that it's hey, can you slap this on social media? Here's the flyer. And it's more than just posting a picture of a flyer on social media to get the outcome that you want of your goal.
Absolutely.
So,
you really have to think about the graphics, the color, the background. I mean, so many people do graphics so badly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
How can people best reach out to you if they want to connect or follow up on anything we talked about?
Yes, so you can send me an email. My email is Ashley, ASHLEY, .Turner, TURNER, at charlottecountyfl.gov. Or, of course, way easier, you can find me on Twitter, Ashley Turner 13, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well, just under Ashley Turner.
And I will add all that into the show notes.
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun.
That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified on the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows you to leave a review, please give us a review. Any review is appreciated. To support our efforts with the PIO podcast, you can click on the support button in the show notes, and any donation is appreciated. Thank you.